All right, why don't we get underway for the April 14th, 2026 meeting of the Wenham Select Board. We're meeting virtually this evening, opening the meeting at 6:31. Present among Select Board members at this time are Gary Cheeseman, Deirdre Parati, and Ben Timon. And with that, we will go to our agenda, starting with public input. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any matters not otherwise specified on the agenda. And we allow up to 2 minutes per person to speak on such public topics. Joe, are there any folks with their hands up for public comment?
No
I
hands
don't
are up.
see any. Great. All right. Thank you. All right, that will move us to town administrators update and town announcements. Steve.
Yeah, I really just have one update or announcement tonight. I just wanted to publicly thank all the residents who came out to the successful town meeting last Thursday, and also the staff and boards and committees and all the effort that got put into it, coordinating it, managing expectations. Emotions can run high, and with folks, and I know that it can be difficult. And everybody stayed calm, cool, collected, and we saw it all through, and the town was able to take care of the business that it needed to take care of. So, thank you for that. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much. My only comment is to publicly recognize Gary, who we hope and expect this won't be that this will be a very temporary goodbye. I'll leave it at that. But tonight marks Gary's last meeting for what is it third consecutive select board term, Gary?
Term, so 6 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes. So thank you so much for your dedicated service over those 6 years. I know the first year or two you were really doing double and triple duty, and I think people in town still remember that and remember how you stepped up during some of those difficult times in particular. But including over the complete 2 terms and continuing a very distinguished record of public service. So just wanted to recognize you, given that you'll be finishing out this current term. But again, without sounding too partisan, we hope that it is a short interlude before we see you again.
Well, thank
That's
you.
that's all I have.
And certainly appreciate your thoughts, and certainly must say that I've really enjoyed the time, especially this past year, working with the select board and with Steve and the entire staff. And I'd also echo, what a great town meeting we had, and everything moved forward and very progressive votes. So thank you to the public citizenry. And yes, hopefully it's just a quick break till June, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Deirdre.
I'll just echo what both of you have said, but then echo what Ben said in thanking Gary for his service, particularly in some very trying.
Deirdre, I think there may be an audio problem.
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I
You
didn't
can
know if it was I didn't know if it was me. So thanks for saying. Yeah, it sounds like there's some audio with your mic, maybe.
I'm not sure there's much I can do, so
If
We
you
hear you
speak,
now. We hear you now.
we hear you now. It's soft, but
All
we can hear you.
I didn't do anything, but okay. Just echoing what's already been said and thanking all the departments as well as the FinCom colleagues on the select board, town clerk's office, public safety, staff, everybody. And of course, the townspeople for turning out. I thanked Gordon College as well for hosting us. We do appreciate that. And I think despite a couple of small technical difficulties, it was a very well-run, efficient meeting, thoughtful comments and questions from the public. and it was a good night.
All right, thanks very much. That moves us to our consent agenda, which includes two items. Meeting minutes from the open session of the Select Board on March 17th of this year, and a one-day liquor license for First Church for an event to be held on April 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. Unless any board member wishes to discuss either of those items individually, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda as published.
Second,
Thank you. We'll take a roll. Deirdre,
yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. All right, moving right along. Item C, appointment of Officer John Phillips to Patrol Sergeant effective April 26, 2026 through June 30th of 2026. And I believe that the chief is present to speak to this appointment,
You let me just promote you.
as well as a second one that'll be coming afterwards.
Okay, can you guys hear me and see me okay?
We can, Chief, and just not to interject again, but I see that item D is also an appointment of Sergeant Michael. And I'm sorry I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but the second appointment. So are you going to speak to both of those at the same time?
Yes, if that's okay. They kind
Yes.
of work with each other.
Great.
And before I do that, if I could also just echo your comments about Gary, and I'm just on May 1st, I'll finish my 5th year as chief, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am individually in my position, and I speak for the men and women of our police department to not only have the support of Gary, but the entire board. So lucky. So I just want to thank Gary for that, and echo that to the board as well.
Thank you.
So, as you know, Sergeant Michael Massis is going to be retiring after 20 years. We did, with the anticipation of his retirement, and then also knowing last year that Sergeant Dave Marsh was retiring, and then we had another medical retirement. We did a process, and in that process, Officer John Phillips did a very nice job. He passed all portions of the process, and he was next in line to assume the role when Sergeant Massis retires officially on April 25th. In working with that, Sergeant Massis will transition to a special officer, which several of our last retired officers have done, which they just work traffic details in town. It's budget neutral for the town, just only paid by the vendor. So we're happy to have Mike stay on board, and super appreciative of his 20 years of service. And we're excited with soon to be Sergeant Phillips. 9 years as a full-time officer. He has a bachelor's in criminal justice administration from Salem State, and he has a master's in criminal justice from Southern New Hampshire University. Not to mention his education's great, but he's also super professional, super hard work, and gets along well with everyone in the police department. He's one of our firearms instructors, does a really nice job with that, is passionate about that. He works in our evidence room, and anything that's asked of him by myself or the deputy, he steps up and does it. So we're excited to now have the third of 3 new sergeants within the past, six months or so. And I know, super confident John is going to be excellent in his role, and I'm super confident, and I should say thankful that Sergeant Massis for his service and time, not only as a sergeant, but as a police officer, and happy to keep him on board as a special officer.
That's great. And welcome, Peter, who's come over onto the panelist side for the Zoom. Chief, thanks very much. To any members of the board have any questions or comments for the chief?
Not here.
The only thing I would like to add is John Phillips, he did have a conflict that he wanted to be on tonight, but he was super appreciative and wanted to make sure I passed on a thank you to the board for trusting in him, and I trust in him as well and know he's going to do great. So I just wanted to add that he did want to be on, and felt bad about that.
Okay, thanks for letting us know, and please pass on our regards to him as well. Steve, do either of these appointments require a vote from us tonight, or this is more informational?
No, I would, if you could vote and appoint,
Okay, I
please.
just wanted to double check. Thank you. All
Yeah.
right, so I entertain when we take them separately, I entertain a motion to appoint Officer John Phillips to the sergeant position.
So moved, Gary.
Is there a second?
Second?
And just to clarify, this will be a motion to appoint in accordance with how it's listed on the agenda, which includes the term. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Peter,
Yep.
Gary,
Yes.
Deirdre,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. And now I'd entertain a motion to appoint Sergeant Michael Massis to the position of Special Police Officer as printed in the agenda.
Gary so moves.
Second, Peter.
Great, we'll take the roll call. Deirdre,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. Thanks very much. Chief, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for everyone for the support, and I'll pass it on accordingly to John and Mike.
Great, and our congratulations to them both. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us to item E, which is a discussion and potential vote for Wenham to become a Purple Heart community. We have with us this evening V. Ciparini, who is our liaison at Cape Ann Veterans Services. She's going to give an overview of the Purple Heart community designation and next steps required to achieve it. Following V's presentation, we will discuss and may vote. Joe, if you could, in addition to bringing V over as you have done, could you also promote Bill Wilson to a panelist? Bill is the vice chair of the Veterans Committee and heavily involved in this effort in case Bill wishes to add anything to the discussion.
Sure. No problem.
Thank you. All right, but with that, V, thank you so much for joining us, and we're eager to hear your summary of what it means to become a Purple Heart community and how Wenham might be able to achieve that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben. And I first apologize for my voice or lack thereof today. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to speak to you. I do have a presentation written out so that I make sure I hit up on all the points, and then I'll be open to any questions that anyone may have at the end. So I'm essentially here as the voice for Purple Heart recipients and Gold Star families who reside in Wenham or are buried in the town of Wenham. Purple Heart recipients are typically among the most humble veterans you will ever encounter. Many do not consider themselves heroes. They simply say they were doing their job, yet many carry these silent burdens from their service. Some live with the lasting effects of their wounds, while others struggle with survivor's guilt, often asking themselves, why them and not me? These men and women rarely seek recognition for their sacrifices. In fact, many never publicly identify themselves as Purple Heart recipients at all. The Purple Heart is one of the oldest military decorations in our nation's history, established by George Washington in 1782 as the badge of military merit. Today, it is awarded to service members who were wounded or killed in action while serving our country. Across communities throughout the nation, cities and towns have chosen to formally recognize these sacrifices by designating themselves as Purple Heart communities. This designation is meant to honor both those who return home with wounds of war and the families who lost loved ones in service to our country. This designation itself is symbolic in nature. It carries no financial burden to the town and requires no ongoing obligations. Typically, it simply includes the installation of one or two signs recognizing the community itself as a Purple Heart community at entrances to the town or the cemetery. and the flying of a Purple Heart flag on August 7th in recognition of National Purple Heart Day. Today, I ask the Select Board to consider a future vote proclaiming Wenham as a Purple Heart community. This small gesture sends a powerful message that the town recognizes the sacrifices made by our nation's combat wounded veterans and remembers those who never returned home. It acknowledges families who carry that sacrifice every day, our Gold Star families, whose loved ones gave their lives in service to this nation. Designating Wenham as a Purple Heart community would place the town among many municipalities across Massachusetts and the country that have chosen to publicly recognize and honor these sacrifices. This is a simple and meaningful way for the town of Wenham to demonstrate its gratitude and respect for those who have borne the wounds of war and for the families who have endured the ultimate loss. Thank you all for your time and your consideration. And if you have any questions, or if Bill Wilson is allowed to elaborate, he can share some statistics in particular of how many Purple Heart recipients we have in Gloucester, not Gloucester, Wenham, and are buried in Wenham as well.
Okay. Hey, thanks, V. I wasn't particularly familiar with how many Purple Heart winners, it's not really a winner, it's the recipients of, that we had in Wenham. So I did a little bit of research on that and come to find out that there are 10 Wenham residents who were came into the service, went off, did their thing and came back, or didn't come back, but they weren't buried in Wenham Cemetery. There are 10 people that are recipients of Purple Hearts, recipients here. One of which is Alan B. Cheeseman, Gary's brother, who was killed October of 1970 in Vietnam. Is one of the people there. There are several other ones as well. There are 6 that are interned in Wenham residents there, buried in there, POWs, Silver Star winners, Bronze Star winners. It's like an unknown history. And for me, this is just a chance to raise the visibility within the community of those that served. I've served a long time, and I didn't know all the details associated with these individuals. So now it's an opportunity for the Veterans Committee, the VSO, V, and Brian to bring this forward to the community, raise the flag on August 7th, and hopefully the town recipients will ask, who were they? What did they do? What did they do? So I strongly recommend the select board consider this. And V, I think you are a Purple Heart recipient as well. Did I get that right?
You
V
did.
as well. And this is near and dear to her heart and why she's here. And we want to recognize her, all the individuals in town that made the sacrifice to stand up when we were they called to stand up and do the duty. So thank you. Ben, I'll turn it back over to you. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that additional information and the research that you did. And thank you, V. I'll open it up to members of the board who have any questions or comments for either V or Bill.
This is Peter. I would just say that I'm very supportive of this.
Thank you, Peter. Gary or Deirdre? Deirdre, I see her.
Just likewise, thank you very much for both presentations. I just learned a lot, and I would fully support this as well. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the town.
Totally.
And Gary, I certainly support, and I'm glad we recognize that V is also a recipient of the Purple Heart.
Yes. Thank you, V, for your service, and Bill and Gary and everyone else on this call who is a veteran. I, of course, fully support this as well. And I think, you've got strong support from the board. Just a logistical question. If we vote this evening to pursue the designation, Steve, you could work with Bill and V to take whatever next steps are required to have that designation finalized.
Yes, absolutely.
Indeed, just to go into this a little bit, I think we're going to be bundled together with Gloucester, Manchester. If you could just tell a little bit about that, the application that you submit once you receive board approval going forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So essentially, the idea is that we can get as many communities within our Cape Ann district on board with this. I might end up just doing Gloucester and Wenham since both of us seem to be ready to move forward with this, and then do the other three if possible as a bulk as well at a later time. Essentially, what I would need is a proclamation from the select board that this is happening. We need to post one or two signs of your choosing at the location of your choosing, and then do a formal flag raising. We send the application as a bulk along with Gloucester's to the state, the National Purple Heart Association, where they approve it, and we get added into this online database in which anyone in the country can look us up and see that we are a Purple Heart community. We are listed as a Purple Heart community. Again, it's a symbolic in nature. It's more showing that we support all veterans, Purple Heart or not. It's more just showing a little additional recognition to a few individuals who may not necessarily like to recognize themselves or speak for themselves. And it's not about me and the fact that I myself have a Purple Heart. It's more for a lot of those that I serve and that I've come to know personally, and I know they would never do this for themselves. And so this is a recognition that I feel they are entitled to. They should be recognized, whether they want to be known or not, but this is just a special recognition for them.
All right, thanks very much. So I would entertain a motion that the town of Wenham pursue designation as a Purple Heart community, and that the board delegate to the town administrator and the select board chair the filling out, execution of any paperwork, including proclamations necessary to achieve that designation.
Gary so moves.
Second, Peter.
All right, we'll take the roll. Deirdre,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. So thank you very much, Bill and V, and we're excited to travel down this path with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that brings us to the next agenda item F, review, discussion, and potential vote on a request. Oh, could we, on a request from Wenham resident Laurie Heil to allow a citizen-funded porta potty to be placed at West Wenham Park.
We want to move Lori over. So Lori approached Kate and then ultimately the select board's office to request whether a porta potty could be placed at West Wenham Park. In the park's design, it did incorporate a pad where a porta potty could be placed, but given the budgetary constraints, we did not add any additional services to the park this year. So Lori proposed that they may be able to do some citizen fundraising in order to get a porta potty up there for a period of time. I've heard either from one weekend or through the entire summer. But with that, I'll let Lori address the board.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Lots of echoes.
Okay, how about now? Is this better?
Yes, much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all for having me in today, and thank you for the nice tee up. My name's Lori Heil. I'm a Wenham resident, as Steve mentioned. I'm also a Girl Scout leader, mom of a kindergarten and first grader, member of the Mothers Club. I'm sort of your target demo for West Wenham Park, and was so thrilled by the beautiful revitalization, and was at the opening last October when we cut the ribbon and started it. So it's a beautiful facility. And if you want to flip to the next slide with the summary of the request, essentially what I realized, I sort of thought that by this season there would be a porta potty there, but I connected with Kate Mallory, who's been a great partner in helping me get some of the history here, and she's on the call as well. And it sounds like right now there isn't a current plan to put one there. So my request would be to get permission, whether if there might be funding somewhere or not. So that's a separate topic. But if not, if there isn't somewhere through DPW or the Recreation Department for this funding, I'm happy to go do a pass the hat or whatever, because I think there would be great need for something like this during what I call sort of prime park season, like the May 1st to October 31st, when like I go every day now to just check on who's there. And like, there's tons of kids there, there's families there. And as I'll talk to in a minute, without a porta potty, we're not so great with the other options or alternatives. So ideally, we at least get permission this year to get one there, whether it's through we find some funding or privately fundraise, and then from next year get it into the cycle for funding from the town. And I don't know if that comes from Recreation or DPW, but get it allocated so that it becomes something that's part of ongoing maintenance for the park. So if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide. Just to give a quick recap, the park was beautifully revitalized, opened in mid-October of last year. It's got tennis and pickleball courts, a basketball court, it's a pump track, it's got the playground and fitness equipment, this huge, beautiful pavilion with, I think it's 6 or 8 picnic tables. And all these things would, you'd think, maybe necessitate needing a toilet there, and yet one is not currently there. And as the plans, it's hard to see a little bit, but I tried to do a call out box to show you there's a couple of small boxes where that is coming from. And that is where the facilities were designed to be. So in essence, those are just across from where the handicap accessible parking spots are, and where a porta potty was placed for the opening day celebration in October. So somebody realized that when it was opening day at the park, there would be necessity for a toilet. I think that was Kate. So there is a spot for where it would go. And my last bullet point, however uncomfortable it is to talk about, is if you don't have a potty, people are going to have to make do. And while it may be cute for kids to pee in the woods, it's not so cute for adults to do that or allowed by law. And it then means that people are leaving the park. So if you have an event or a gathering, I mean, we don't have a gas station next door. There is no Dunkin' Donuts nearby. So I don't want to wait. You know, I get it. I get budget cycles, but I feel like the time is now to get a porta potty there. And if I have to, you know, do a little pass the hat in the town, if we can't find budget, I'm willing to do that, because it feels like that's the right way to enjoy this beautiful new space, is with appropriate facilities. And then unless there's any questions, we can just flip to the next slide, where I've done some research. I think the right thing to do is to get an accessible porta potty. If we're building an accessible park with accessible parking, we should get an accessible porta potty. So it is a little bit more, but it feels like the right thing to do to make the park fully accessible. So I got some quotes. The one that seemed to be most attractive, and it's a vendor that has been used previously by the town, and the one that was used for the opening, the Throne King, very attractive name. It's $265 a month. They'll drop it off, do weekly cleaning, servicing of the unit, and pick it up at the end of the season. I'm recommending we do it May 1st to October 31st, somewhat arbitrarily. It's a date future from here, but not too long, because I'm already seeing folks use the park. So it's a 6-month time frame, and that would sum to just under $1,600 for the year. So we're not talking totally big bucks. It's a lot for a pass the hat, but I think it would be worth it to make this more comfortable. And then the final slide, Kate was kind enough to supply a little quote. You know, she and I have been talking extensively that it was thoughtfully revitalized to be a place where people can stay, play, and gather. Adding a portable toilet ensures visitors can fully enjoy the space comfortably, making the park more welcoming, functional, and complete for everyone. So I will pause there for any questions that you may have for myself or Kate, if Kate's on. if there are any.
Thank you. Laurie, Kate, did you want to add anything before we turn it over to the board for questions?
No, Laurie handled that perfectly. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, are there questions or feedback from members of the board? Gary?
I'll just say good idea, well needed, and I think it'll attract more people to the park, which is what we want.
Okay.
I
Anybody
agree.
else?
I agree with what Gary just said.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like it's a lot of money.
Thank you. Peter, Deirdre, anything?
I just want to thank Lori. It's very obvious now that you pointed out, but hadn't thought about it, to be honest. So I appreciate you spotting this as an issue and raising it with us. Appreciate the presentation. I definitely think that you're right about this. I guess I'm questioning, given how close we were to an override this year, I'm not sure where we would look for the funding. I don't know if Kate, you have any thoughts if this could go into the recreation budget. I'm just not sure about that part, but I think this is something that needs to happen.
I had a similar question on the funding. Steve, looks like you're prepared to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's one of those things we already, a tight budget cycle. So, the DPW is budgeted pretty tightly. The recreation budget is a shared service with Hamilton, so it's essentially budgeted to the penny. So there's no expense lines in there where, in the DPW and tree warden, which would be probably similar, a use that could be, close enough to park maintenance that, you could appropriate the funds out of, would be, it wasn't planned for it. So whatever we spend out of there would be something less that wouldn't be able to get done as the year unfolds. And that's really the long and short of it. I mean, I think, early in the season, could we, again, we don't have the funds available now. They'll be available on July 1. Like, could we find the money? Probably. But just knowing that, we'll take from something later on in the year.
So if we were to budget for this in the next budget cycle, then that funding wouldn't be available until July, designated line itemed funding wouldn't be available till July 1st of 2027. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
I had a question, Laurie or Kate, just about the 6-month proposal. So, and I think you basically say it in the slide, but where it says recommend placing unit in park for 6 months. So that means that if we were to follow this proposal, that around October 31st or shortly thereafter, that Throne King would remove the porta potty from the site and then bring it back on May 1st. Is that right?
Yes, they can work on any cadence or cycle. They install these monthly and can service them with whatever frequency you choose. So I was proposing this more just from a volume of use. I mean, I would think if you go to a park in November, you may not expect the same amenities there, or to expect to stay as long as something that you might do in the summertime. So it's a bit arbitrary. I was just proposing that 6-month cycle. They can work on whatever cadence we ultimately decide.
Great. Right. So I support this as well. I think my only concern is that we, given that it looks like there isn't town funds available, at least at this moment, that we had, I'd sort of like to know whether the, $1,590 is committed. And I realize that it's not committed yet because, as you indicated, you would go out and do sort of a pass the hat. But I wouldn't want to have it there without funding for it to be cleaned every week.
That's part of the 1590, just to be clear.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yep.
So I wonder whether we could approve this with a condition that we receive, or the town administrator receives, some evidence that $1,590 has been committed by private donations, so that we know that when it's there, it's going to be cleaned weekly. And then also a condition on the 6 months, so we know that it isn't going to be left there, without the cleaning service taking place in those other 6 months.
Sure, that is doable. If you were asking me, it's certainly, I can't pay for it until I have the funding anyhow. So certainly I can signal to whomever on your end needs that sort of formal green light, for sure.
Do other board members have any problem with approving it with those conditions, sort of the funding, front-loaded funding, I suppose, or it sounds like from Laurie that it's all going to have to be paid anyway in order to even get the porta potty, and then also the 6 month condition.
I would expect that it would have to be paid before it's placed, and the cleaning is part of the fee. So I'm comfortable with all of that. I guess I would, first of all, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to fundraise for this. I do think it's something that we can work towards for the town to fund, or figure out how we get bathrooms there in some fashion. But as you've heard, this year the budget is extremely tight. I think another consideration would be maybe not to do 6 months in the first year, but maybe 4 months, so it's fully covered while kids are out of school. That's just a suggestion, but ultimately it would be up to those of you who pull together the funding. So I appreciate that you're willing to attempt this, and I think we should work towards covering this from the town to the extent possible, given our current budget constraints.
All right, well,
Sorry, one quick question, if I could. I believe there is a maintenance budget allocated toward taking care of the park, right? Like if something safety-wise popped up or what have you. I wondered if all of that is line item committed, or if perhaps that would be something, a place to look. I mean, I'm happy to fundraise if we need to, but I believe there is money earmarked to care for the park, and I don't know if this would be part of that, or if that's too distinct from what that budget might carry or cover.
The intent of that line was specifically for landscape maintenance.
Got it. Okay.
all right, so I'll move that we allow a handicapped accessible porta potty to be placed at West Wenham Park for up to 6 months during the period of May 1st through August 31st of 2026, conditioned upon the porta potty's removal from West Wenham Park no later than October 31st, 2026, and information provided to our land use director or town administrator that sufficient funding for the unit and weekly cleaning be committed prior to its delivery to West Wenham Park.
Peter Clay seconds.
Great. We'll take a roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Deirdre? Oh, we didn't hear you, Deirdre.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And Ben is yes. And Laurie, thank you very much, and to Kate and to everyone else involved in bringing this forward, because it's going to be a great addition, and hopefully we'll be able to plan for it in next fiscal year budget.
Terrific. Thank you very much for approving the request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item G. Review of RFP submissions along with Historic District Commission's recommendation of their preferred vendor to perform the Historic District Guidelines work, discussion and potential vote to select and approve the vendor. I think, Joe, you're going to present?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just by way of background, Wenham has historic district guidelines that are used for the historic district, sort of offer guidance for developers, homeowners, just, lets them know what you can and can't put in the district. But similar to the subdivision rules that Kate and Margaret were working on, they hadn't been rewritten since the 1980s. Likewise, the historic district guidelines have not been updated since the late 1990s. So I don't know, folks recall last year's town meeting, but the historic district guidelines project was approved via capital funding and approved by the voters for $50,000. So over the past several months, the HDC has went through several drafts of a scope of work to send out to potential vendors to rewrite these historic district guidelines. We had three vendors that did respond to the scope of work, and the names of the vendors were, let's pull it up here. Innis Land Strategies Group, Barrett Planning Group, and Skelly Preservation Services. Kelly Schmidt, the chair of the HDC, and I met with all three vendors to interview them, and all three were very well qualified. We also checked references on the three, and it was not an easy choice, but Kelly and I both recommended Barrett Planning Group for a number of reasons, namely that the person that would be helping the HCC on this project, Jen Doherty, has worked for the Mass Historical Commission, the state agency, and also her expertise is in historic preservation and sort of these rewriting these guidelines for other towns. Likewise, the HDC met on March 26th and unanimously recommended Bear Planning as well. So tonight, I'm hoping to get the select board's blessing to engage with Barrett Planning Group and get these guidelines rewritten for the HDC.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions or comments from members of the board?
I thought the proposals were quite good, so that was helpful to understand what distinguished them for you, Joe, so thank you.
Peter or Gary, anything to add? Gary, you're muted at the moment.
I would just add that certainly, sometimes the decisions of the HDC entail a lot of judgment. So I think the more clear and precise regulations that we can put in this area will be a benefit to the town and keep the controversies down. So let's go forward with the selected vendor.
Great. And I know that Judy Barrett and her group are excellent and sort of the leaders in this and many planning fields, as a lot of people on the call know from working with them on different things in the past. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion. Oh, Gary, I think you're muted.
Okay, so I'll do it small print here. I move that. Can you get it? It's my print. You got the name there?
Oh, it's a Barrett Group.
Yes, Barrett Planning Group.
I move that we select Barrett Group for the program for the Historic District Commission's preferred vendor for the guidelines and work.
Peter Clay seconds.
All right, thank you. We'll take a roll. Peter,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Deirdre,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. All right, we do not have any other new business or old business. So at 7:15, who wants to do the honors?
Hey, Gary.
So I move that we adjourn.
Adios, amigo.
All right, thank you. I move that we adjourn at 7:15 p.m.
Second.
Great. Deirdre, roll call.
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Ben is yes. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Have a great night.
Take care. Bye.